You could have been other places. You didn't have to accept the invitation. You could have had an excuse. All kinds of things. So I really feel good to see you all. I feel even better knowing that when you go back out to work in April, God willing, I'll be somewhere enjoying myself, and you will be where you belong. It's a good feeling to wake up on mornings knowing that the bumper to bumper traffic is not mine. And when somebody mentioned me leaving home at 11 o'clock, that's true. I leave 10:30, 11. I don't want to see any school entities. I don't want to see uniforms. I don't want to see anybody reminding me of school. Not that it was a bad experience, but I am on a different zone, a different plane, and 2 o'clock, if 2 o'clock finds me out, I am a bit nervous. I don't want to see anybody again. I don't want to see any of those people who leave school early, whose schools dismissed by 2 o'clock. So I do my best to get home by 2. Not only because I want to watch Deadline, because there are people who talk your business out. Yes, I want to watch Deadline. It comes on at 2 o'clock. But I do not want the school traffic. I have had an enjoyable time in teaching. I started in the year Bob Marley died, which might have been 1980, at St. Ambrose Primary, and I've mentioned it to Ms. Gamble, and she was a teacher at that first school I went to, but she probably didn't notice me. It was that you sent in your forms to the Ministry of Education, and every week you would call and ask, are there any vacancies? And you would hear no, and you would hear no. And every other Thursday, I used to go to Browns Beach. And one Thursday, I decided, let me stop in the ministry and ask a question. And there I was in a jeans skirt, a jeans jacket, and a bathing suit like a camisole underneath it. And the education officer said, Miss Francis, there's a vacancy at the school behind, but you gotta go now, because another officer planned to send somebody. So, with my beach bag and what I was wearing, I went through the road she told me, and there I was at St. Ambrose Primary. I give God thanks that it was not the days of WhatsApp, because somebody would have taken a picture. Someone would have taken a picture and said, look what teaching come to. Anyhow, so I went, introduced myself, and it was placed before an infant A class, and the teacher who was there, she was very glad, because she was teaching 2 classes, I believe. Miss Gamble, it would have been Miss Paris, that was at the class next to me, and I had David Gaskin, Mindy Gaskin's brother, so Mindy was there too. And there I started, went to a number of schools, had my training and everything, went overseas, and when I came back, I came to Bay Primary 29 years ago in September 1993. The same year I entered UE. So it was quite a challenge when Mrs. James and I came on. It was 4 new teachers at that time, and the four of us, especially 3 of us, bonded, but they placed me in the big school because they heard I was doing a degree in language, and I had just come from teaching secondary overseas. They gave me the class 4, Mr. James went to the infants, but we remained close, and then the following year I went to the infants, and I did a shift. I did reception, infants A, class 3, class 4, reception, infants A, class 3, class 4, so that I had a working knowledge of most of the children by the time they hit class 3 and 4. I had a beautiful experience. We had situations. We had situations with children, and we also had with parents. But there was a way to handle them. I give God thanks that leaning on Him, I was directed many times, because there are things you could have said that could have caused problems, but you have to learn how to use the language. You have to learn how to placate the situations to get through the day and to get through the term. So I tried to lean on what I knew best, which was use your words, girl. Use your words and use them well. Now, yes, Ms. Richards mentioned us being in class 4, and then Femi mentioned Dwayne. So I cannot help but go back to that time when we had class 3 and 4 together, and when we were deciding who would go on from my class, 4B2, because we had remedial classes. We had 4A, 4B1, 4B2. And I kind of like the 4B2s. Nobody expected the B2 children to do that much. And they were kind of wayward, and their parents a lot of times did not understand. So I like working with them. And the year that I had Charles Joseph, Dwayne Mars, and all of those, I decided, even though Dwayne came third in my class, I'm not letting him go on to Miss Richards. I didn't have anything against her, we worked well together. But she had somebody who, it was a precursor to Knight Rider though. And I don't know if Dwayne could have managed in there. The kind of personality he had, I didn't want him to go in there and drown, because she had some pretty strong children. So while he came in the top 3, I didn't think I could let him move on, and he didn't. And you know, he wasn't a rude boy, but he did ask how come he didn't get to going 4B1. His best friend was in there. Anyhow, so history, and he did 11 plus. He said he wanted to go to St. Leonard's Boys because it had an athletic program, and it guided the mother accordingly in filling out the form. And that's the days where you could guide parents and they would listen. They would listen to what you're saying in terms of child's marks, and then they would work accordingly. He did go to St. Leonard's Boys, he did well there. He got an athletic scholarship to go to study overseas through his football skills. And years down the road, one night Femi introduced him as her boyfriend, I think. Okay. Anyhow, so that's what Wayne entered my life, and is now my son-in-law. But you know, let me say all of that. You really gotta treat the children well, because look how it ended up. That is a strict name of a boy who I taught in class 3 and 4. Look how he ended up as the father to 2 of my grandchildren. You know? We gotta treat the children well and have an understanding of their backgrounds, as Mr. Norby used to say. Do not assume that when you get homework, everybody got a nice clean table like what you have there, and they can clear it and do their homework. As he had told me, there are a few children Mr. Norby would visit, and when he pushed the door to enter, the bed there. The bed is right there, and that bed is dining table, that is bed to sleep on. So don't let us assume that the children have all the things that we think they have. So we teach with a sense of understanding. Go from a place of not ignorance, but a form of knowledge. Because they're not always going to say it to you. They're not going to say what those limitations